Hi everyone, Dr. Miriam here, family nurse practitioner and spiritual medium. I am the oracle, the lighthouse, and the code breaker. Why do I call myself that? Because as the oracle, I combine my nurse practitioner and my spiritual mediumship, and I can see beyond the things that traditional people see. I have insight, awareness, understanding far beyond what people see with the naked eye. The lighthouse, because I am not here to fix you. You're not broken. But I have been through the depths of the deepest parts of my shadows over and over and over again to come out on the other side. And through that, I have learned to stand fully in my knowing. And should you choose, should you feel called to it, I am here to guide you, to stand as the lighthouse that shines in the direction in which you are being called. And I can guide you in. I can guide you home to your own self. And the code breaker, because of combining my life experience, my healing journey, my nurse practitioner, and my spiritual mediumship, I can break codes that you've been stuck in. I can break codes that are, again, unseen quicker than most people, because I don't just deal in the physical, I deal in the spiritual. So I did a yoga class today, hence the attire. And I'm gonna work through a concept, and I'm inviting you along, so welcome. And we'll see how it goes. I sat in the class and really started to recognize it was a yin yoga class. Yin yoga is very slow. Positions are held for, I think, on average about 5 minutes. And it brings you very present. You're meant to use your breath, and you're meant to sit in the discomfort of the pose. And this is very much how life is, right? So as you're moving through the goal, the idea, the business, the family, the new chapter in your life, whatever it is you're trying to move through and create, there is always discomfort that comes with it as you're moving into and breaking through where you are now and where you want to be, where you are now and where your soul is calling you forward. And so in that moment in the class, I had a recognition of being in the space where I have been for about the last 3 years, 2.5, in the space of the healing, in the space of the understanding. And I am at a space now where the healing has really, for all intents and purposes, has cleared in the subconscious to a very great deal. Me 2.5 years ago, me now, completely different person. And yet not, but you get it. So the idea of who I am now and who I want to be, when you finally get to the who I want to be, and you want to do a turnaround and you go, wait a minute, I got here, but this is a little uncomfortable. And so it's like the class. I'm there, I'm present, I'm in the moment, in the class, holding the position, and my brain saying, this is really uncomfortable. I want to move out of this. Like, we're already here, but we're here. But we got it. We're in the pose, we're holding it. Yeah, but I want to move out of this. This is really uncomfortable. That's life. Like, for anybody moving forward, which I think the vast majority of us to one degree or another are desiring to move forward, that's life. You can get the thing and be super uncomfortable. And so the concept I'm working through is a breakthrough, right? Where we get the thing versus comfort of where we've been that feels more comfortable than the minute we step into here. And so it's this idea that, mind you, stick figures here, guys, real Real good here. Lovely, right? So this is the you now. This is your soul calling you forward. So I'm going to go soul here. Calling you forward, right? So you can call it, you know, top of mountain. You can be your goal. It can be family. It can be just change behavior. It can be, what else did I say? Healing journey. I mean, you name it. Whatever you're trying to attain, something as small as one thing to as big as these loftier businesses, you know, creating a business. Oh, guys, I don't know if I spelled that right, because that, for whatever reason, has always messed me up. I could have spelled it wrong. I always looked at it as bussiness. I think we're good. It says bussiness. Okay, so so the you now, or maybe, you know, maybe you're like me where where you're somewhere in the middle here. But the idea is that as we move from here to here, the closer you get, your ego, right? So this is, the ego is you. The ego in this case, we'll put this at the front just because that's part of Dr. Miriam. Dr. Miriam. So the ego is Dr. Miriam. This is the vehicle that I chose to come in. But we are souls in human form, right? So we are souls, we are extension of the divine that is here to walk this earth, to basically to experience life and to allow for the God consciousness to experience life, okay? To experience the different perspectives that each one of us bring, that each entity in this universe brings. And so, ego Miriam really likes comfort. And any of you who have gone through comfort to breakthrough understand this idea that as you work through your own healing, the ego, in its infinite desire to help you, to be the commander, to be the one that guides you in life, it really holds its position well. It is a great soldier for you. Yet, as you move on this journey, there are things that the ego has piled on. So let's say we have oh goodness, I'm gonna go this way. We're gonna put on a backpack. What are the things that we fill the backpack with? So this is the egoic self that through life fills fear, doubt, shame, guilt, longing, just came to my head. I mean, all the things. Heartache, all the, you know, we'll call them big T, little t traumas. And literally just like life experiences that would create a situation where the ego doesn't want to see what's happening. So, of course, the ego also gets to experience, right? So I'm putting these because these are the heavier emotions that we hold in our body that are actually the things that hold us back. So I just want to be clear that obviously, so not obvious, actually, I shouldn't say obviously. When we look, we are also love, kindness, we can make it an S, compassion. Okay, right? We're all these things. So this is the lovey-dovey side. This doesn't hold us back, right? So I'm going to focus on this backpack versus this, because this is the essence of who we are. Like, at our core, this is our essence. We embody this essence by living life through a space of love, kindness, compassion, surrender. Something the ego has a very hard time with. Oh, this is a big one. Control. Control. Huge. So this is huge. Okay? This is, right, surrender and control. These are the very opposites, but the very essence of ego versus soul, awareness and knowing. So the ego, as you're going from here to here, and you start wanting to change a habit, you start wanting to change and move into alignment with the individual that is going to get to these spaces, that is going to move closer to the goal, that's going to move closer to the family, so relationships, whether intimate or not, that wants to just change the behavior that they're doing, eat better, exercise. As you move into these, and we can I'll do a different video that talks about the idea of manifestation. I actually have a, look for the video, I'm going to post a video on a message, I think it's about 6 pages, that I channeled at like 3 a.m. this morning. I could not sleep, and oftentimes when I cannot sleep and I'm that awake at 2, I don't know, I don't think I slept very much, but 2, 3 in the morning, it is a message that is trying to come through. And as soon as I do it, I fall back asleep. As soon as I channel the message, I fall back asleep. And those are like the witching hours. For those of you that wake up at 2 to 3 in the morning, that is higher self, that is source trying to talk to you. Because everything is quiet. Even the outside is quiet. The birds haven't started chirping. You can notice it hits about 4:30, and like the birds chirp, cars start going, and so anyways, 3 o'clock, 2 to 3 o'clock, witching hour. So your ego loves control. It is, as you were raised, as you moved as a soul through this life, your ego was created and created all these spaces in all these, what it considered a reality or an experience that it held on to. And so that's all these: fear, doubt, shame, guilt, longing, heartache, big T, little t traumas. When I talk about big T, little t traumas, I reference Gabor Mate is an author that I've been reading, and he has a book called I believe it's called The Myth of Normal. And he describes that the trauma is the big T are the things that we typically think about as trauma. The divorce, the someone passing close to us, the physical, sexual abuse, all those things, verbal abuse, any sort of abuse, big T traumas, okay? Big life, big events. Little T traumas are actually far more common, but a lot less noticeable. So those are the situations in which Bessel van der Kolk is an author who has a book called, I think he has many books, but I know he has many books, but The Body Keeps the Score. And so it talks about the body holding on to emotions in our physical body. And that's where our trauma lives, is actually in our physical body, because an imprint happens. And so little t traumas, it happens when an emotion gets stuck. There's a sense of helplessness or hopelessness, and or an emotion gets stuck and in that moment doesn't process and moves, and it gets stuck. How many of those events do we have? Countless, numerous. And those account for the bigger aspects that then through these, we create the story that is our ego. But it's not just us. It's everything that our parents believed, we tend to believe. Where do their experiences come from? What their parents believed. And so it's important to understand, and I will do another video on this. I have more insight into the idea of what we experience in this right now is a culmination of all the things, or many of the things our family lineage, our ancestry has experienced, coming forward and surfacing in us in this life. So the ego is there to protect you. The ego is there to say, okay, we've had this experience before, big T trauma, little t trauma. It created this sense of shame, guilt, fear, whatever it is. So I'm going to control. I have to control. I have to be the one that does X, Y, Z, or else my needs aren't met. And mind you, most of the needs being met are in childhood. And so before the age 6, we're very emotional, or 7, very emotional, less rational. And so many of our belief systems and the things that happen were created from this space. Whether we moved into, the ideas around shame, guilt, fear they really start in those places, because if we're not getting our needs met, we're going to change and shift who we are to try and get Maslow's hierarchy of needs, to get food, shelter, clothing, attention, love. And so whatever we need to do to get those, we are going to do. And whether we learn to shut down because we were giving our light, we were giving our love, and it was not received or it was pushed back, or there's abandonment and there's different wounds that we say, nope, we're not gonna let this happen, and either we close off or we open wider, trying to get those feelings. So all of those things create the ego. Create Dr. Miriam, Todd, Stacy, Trevor, Joanna, whoever it is. That's what those are created from. So it's a long-winded way to say, because they exist, and yes, for those of you who've noticed, I'm sitting on the floor and I'm using my daughter's easel. Because why get another one? We already have one. And so it's just the awareness to say, as you start moving toward this soul calling, because I think the vast majority of we are here as souls in human form to expand and learn, not only for ourselves and for our own soul's expansion, but for the expansion of the consciousness. I have a video that talks about that, so go back and look at that if you're not, if you haven't heard me talk about the idea of God consciousness, or what it means to me, and my understanding, then please do take a look at that, and I'll link it below. And so I believe greatly that as we move into these things, this is our soul calling us forward. So that soul calling, the version of us that already exists in this time, because there are infinite realities happening at the same time. Again, we can talk about that at a different time. But so the fact that the you now feels called into the you in the future it already exists. And so all you have to do is align with that version of yourself. But in that, all you have to do is that if you are this now, it's very comfortable. Even being uncomfortable is very comfortable because it's known. So even those of us who live and have lived through traumatic events and live in our world that is very, whether it be fear-based or control-based, protective because we've had heartache, it is more comfortable to live in the discomfort of that space. Maybe the isolation, maybe the fear, maybe the longing, whatever it is, it can be very comfortable to live in there because that is familiar. That is how individuals that have a lot of trauma, when you look at people that have experienced trauma in their lifetime, and you might look at somebody, or you might have known somebody who said, who you look at them and you say, why, easy one to talk about, are anybody that's in an abusive relationship and chooses to stay. And this is just for the sake of the example. So people will look and say, why does this person choose to stay in this relationship? Most often, the person that is in the abusive relationship experienced abuse, or experienced either personally or a parent had an experience of abuse through the parents, saw them, and that therefore that trauma is something that in them seeing it, they're more, just in seeing it, I don't know the stats on it, but just in seeing it, they are far more likely to be in an abusive relationship themselves. It's that pattern of trauma continuing. And so then you wonder, why is someone staying in an abusive relationship? Because the reality is, many times the way that the brain actually then forms and the chaos becomes so normal, so normalized. I don't want to say normal because what is normal? It's become so normalized to them, to their comfort zone, that anything that is not that is really uncomfortable because it's unknown. So even the safety of a relationship that is not abusive, they oftentimes go back to one, or find one, or it's really the alignment, right? So it's not that they're finding, it's that they're in alignment with trying to get that healed. And sometimes it's only re-experiencing it over and over again until they finally say absolutely not, that's when that pattern shifts, because they're just in alignment with a mirror, somebody that is just there trying to show them where they're not seeing their wholeness. Whole nother video. But so the idea of what we hold on to and what the ego holds on to, and this idea of, even though it seems really challenging, our trauma brain can make it so that we're like more comfortable where we were in trauma and not in safety or a safer relationship. Those are the things you're holding on to, right? These are everything that's here. And so the ego goes into control, and it doesn't have to be that that challenging of a situation, but the ego goes into control for so many reasons in so many ways. And so as you move from here to here, the ego is trying to keep you here. It doesn't want you to get here. Not because it's bad, because oftentimes it says, no, we've experienced XYZ. You can't let go of this or this or this or this. Because remember, in the past, this happened. And so it foreshadows or already sees what happened before, and it says, no, don't go there. Don't look at that. You can't get to that, because then you have to look at what happened. You have to let go of the experience that happened that's actually keeping you from accessing this version of you. And so as you move through, at first it's going to feel like, gosh, why can't I wake up in the morning to get, I know that movement's really important for me. I know that meditation is a thing, that connects me. And this is my experience recently. But I'm having a really hard time moving and aligning into this version because I just keep snoozing. And I just keep snoozing. And let me tell you, I was snoozing for like 2 hours sometimes. And what I wasn't realizing about that, and then also the lack of meditation, so my day would start very hectic, very chaotic, which the meditation is the connection to source. And so for me and for so many, it is the place of stillness. It is the place of starting the day from almost like a 0 point where you get really centered, really focused. And that vibration, that energy, that place that you sit into in meditation carries throughout the rest of your day. And so that was really important to me. And then, but I had to wake up early to do it. If I woke up 2 hours later, I was scrambling to get myself ready and my daughter ready, lunches, all the things, and get out the door in time. And I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it. What I realized later was that I had started moving through so many already of these different, I had changed the way I was eating, so change of behavior. I had changed the way I was eating. I had changed belief systems. I had let go of limiting belief systems, these here, right? I had started to let go of limiting belief systems. I started to align greater and greater with this version of me that was calling me forward. And in doing so pretty quickly, the one or two things that my soul could hold, that my ego could hold on to, was the snooze and was the rationality of saying, I don't know if that's the right word, but the rationale it used was, oh, but you're tired. Oh, but you had a really long day. Oh, but you've been doing so much, which is all true. And I was, and healing for any of us who've gone through those journeys and who have released, there's a lot of processing that's happening on the soul side. So you oftentimes do need more rest. And it's hard for us to do that in this egoic world where we're like, do, go, move, to honor the rest that we're being called to. So it was this space where I was like, I think I'm supposed to rest, but I'm kind of feeling called to move forward, but I'm kind of tired. And so interestingly, as I kept moving forward, and the longer I had worked on and aligned with the way of eating that was starting to heal my body instead of create more inflammation and harm my body, the more I aligned with starting to get in movement, yoga for me, the more I started to find these paths that were aligning with this version that I'm calling in, right? The more tired I would get, the more I would sleep in on Sunday, the more I would snooze my alarm. And I was so furious and I was so frustrated. And I was like, what the flip is happening? And I couldn't understand it. And there was this point where I was like getting closer to this, right? So I'm moving further from comfort and I'm starting to move closer and closer. I'm inching ever so much, ever slightly, oh my gosh, I had to talk, ever closer to the breakthrough, right? It's like these little stages, like you kind of get here and then you get here and then you get here and then you get here and all of a sudden, like, man, you're here, right? And so I'm inching ever so slightly closer because I'm starting to change some of these things, right? I'm not fully aligned here, but I'm starting to change some of the things that feed into that alignment. And my ego's going, no. Because the more I align here, the more I align in my essence, that is my soul, that is love, compassion, kindness, surrender. Where does the control go? What is the ego's job? If the ego's job is to control, now the ego's freaking out, going, no, you can't go there. You can't see that. Don't do that. Don't look. Don't go into that shadow self. Don't go into that understanding. And this is all out of love, right? So this is all out of experience and love that the ego is doing this. This is not malicious. This is not, people will say, like, you have to eradicate the ego. Okay, well then you die. Don't eradicate the ego. What the learning is how do we, fully picture, how do we, as ego, as Dr. Miriam, that is body, align with the soul that actually connects right through here, right? So everything comes, I should just draw it through here. I think there's actually, Joe Dispenza has this visual that it's like I think it's like a circle. I think it goes through. Anyways, don't quote me on that visual, but the idea is that your soul is this essence that is around you, through you, and you. Soul in human form. But your soul is the energy that's creating your life. And when you die, physical Miriam, poof, back to the earth, back to where I was created from, back to the elements that I borrowed to create this body. Soul, through law of, oh God, I can't quote, don't quote me, it's physics. Nothing can be created or destroyed, it only changes. Matter can't be created or destroyed, it only changes form. Soul. So, physical, not created or destroyed. I mean, it's created to be a human and it's destroyed in the human form, but the soul lives on. And so, and mind you, for those of you watching my videos, there's so many concepts moving through my head that bear with me, and I love and adore you if you're still watching to this point, because everything is so interconnected. It is really challenging to talk about one thing and not bring another forward. So as I start moving through these ideas, they will be these longer videos, and I'll post some of the snippets so you can see, like, if you want to understand this one concept, maybe hopefully you can find it just in like whatever minute it's posted. But understand that because of the interconnectedness of life, of all the things of our experiences, it's really hard for me to just go to like one thing and say, hey, isolate this. I'll get better at it, but for now, everything is interconnected. And so I do feel very called to connect all the aspects. And so I hope this is helpful. If you find it helpful, if you have questions on something I'm talking about, if it's not clear, please leave me a comment. Please say, hey, I didn't understand that. Send an email to info@miriamzerio.com, I believe. I have a business one and a personal one, but info@miriamzerio.com, or you can go to miriamzerio.com. I have a blog that is just starting, so there's only a couple posts, but subscribe, follow, get the information, subscribe below if this resonates with you, because oftentimes when we find videos of this nature, in that there is this expanded understanding, you're called here for a reason. You know, a lot of times I speak to everybody, but I speak to those greatly and deeply with so much love in my heart for those that are truly, truly, truly trying. And I know there's so many of you out there, and you just feel a bit lost, and you feel a bit like there aren't a lot of people that are moving in this direction, and yet you feel so called and you're not really sure what to do, how to get there. That's what I'm here for. That's what I have understood, and you will too one day, where as you understand your own healing, the only thing left to do is to share it with the collective. That's what I'm here for. So, and I want to help you understand that, like, your frustration is normal. You are not crazy. You are not failing. You are not failing. You are doing an amazing job. And the fact that you feel like you're failing, you are so close. You are so close. Because the closer you get to this, the closer you get to here, the more this is going to push back on you. And the more you are going to feel like you are failing. Because your ego wants to stay in comfort. Your ego does not want you to let go of these things. It does not want you to move past this. It does not want you to get here. Because it feels like if it loses control, what's its job? Well, the job and the eventual space that you move into is to harmonize, right? Heart. We want to harmonize. This is a big ass heart. We want to harmonize and allow for the soul's calling, the soul's intuition to be the thing that drives how you move forward. So when I talk about alignment, when I talk about moving from here to here, your soul's calling, your soul is calling you forward. It could be that version of you that exists already, but it's 20 years in the future. And it is calling you forward. And you feel it. And you feel that version of you, because I have felt it. That's how I got here. There was a version of me that I understood was this. Literally. This version of me, how I feel right now, the peace, the calmness, the surrender over and over again. This is the version 2.5, 3 years ago that I felt I was called to. And here I am standing embodied in this version of me. And if I can do it, you can do it. Because we are one and the same. We are mirrors for each other. And so this is resonating. It's because I'm a mirror for the part of you that is calling you forward. And so, you, my dear, are not failing. But it feels like it. And it feels really hard. And so what'll happen is you'll move, right? It's this. You will start to move here, and you will let go of, fear. You will let go, you will release your parents' belief system that you're all of a sudden like, oh, that doesn't resonate with me. The belief systems of society that say you should do this, you should do that, it doesn't resonate. You'll start to get comfortable in releasing these aspects of self and moving more toward this. You'll start to find the beauty in the small things, the beauty in the everyday life, the present of the presence, the present moment. But it's not a straight line. Your journey to get here is a spiral. Your journey to get here is to move through an aspect and you're like, yeah, I got it. Great. Whether that's here or here. And then you keep moving through and you keep going toward the thing that you're aligning with. And so you're letting go of these aspects of you that aren't in alignment with it. So totally focused. And you're like, I'm getting there. I'm not going to listen to what anybody says. I'm not going to listen to what my parents say. I'm not going to listen to what the world says is possible. And I'm going for this, right? I'm going for this very beautiful alignment. The conviction to do it. And so you thought, oh, I moved through this. But this goes straight down. And so you have all these other points of inflection here where you have a deeper level to learn. Now, do you have to learn all this to get here? No, you could maybe go to here and you can move to this one. And then as you get here, then you'll just, there's an ever expansive, there's an infinite nature to our expansion. So you're never going to be done. It's just going to go from moving through, feeling great, having awareness, and then all of a sudden your ego goes, no, don't look at that, don't see that, don't do that, don't go there. And you need to understand what you're doing, and you go dip down. And then you go back up, and then you dip down. Over time, the more you've moved through these, the more comfortable you've gotten it in being uncomfortable. This starts to look like, oh, here it is, here's the challenging experience. But it only goes to here. And then you go down and you go up. You go down and you go up. And eventually, it's a lot easier. Eventually, because you've moved through a lot of this, a lot of the programming, a lot of the fear, a lot of the current understanding, you start to be able to move through it faster because you stop resisting. Your ego stops trying to control so much, and you start to move into surrender. You start to move allowing. You start to try and focus on love, kindness, compassion. And you move out of these heavier emotions. For any of you that have never heard of David Hawkins, David Hawkins. He has a scale of emotions. And the energetic, we are energetic beings, the energy at which they resonate in your body. The energies that are shame, guilt, fear, way down here. The energies of love, kindness, compassion, Christ consciousness, Buddha, Christ, way up here. So this is, let's say, I think it's like 50. I think the vast majority of us sit around 200 is what he was saying. The map of consciousness. Oop, I got small. And this is Christ consciousness. I think it's at about 1,000. The vast majority of us live right here. And you vacillate between, right? So you can go from anger to rage to guilt. Fear and guilt and shame lie way down here. So even as you try to move to these, this is why as you move up, you'll move back. And then you'll move up, and then you'll move back. But every time you're moving back a little less. And so it was interesting, and what I noticed and where this whole idea came up was because in this last week, especially as I've moved into more consistent yoga, because movement is our way of connecting into our body. And so yoga for me, going back to it, has been a real gift of connecting back to my body and moving through and opening spaces that have been stuck and stagnant. The energy hasn't really moved because the job that I sit a lot to do charting. I sit a lot to do a lot of what I do. We drive in cars all day. All that energy gets stuck and stagnant. So this is opening up, right? We think, let me exercise just because I want to look a certain way. I want to have a six-pack. I want to fit into those jeans. How about we just also look at movement as a way to like move energy and open our body and allow the energy to flow, what people call, like qigong in Chinese medicine, it's qi. It's the movement of energy, life force energy. And so that connecting back has been huge for me to start accessing this greater and greater. And this is kind of how we've been. And so what's fascinating is that the more you start to move here and the more you leave here, the more this part of your ego goes, what am I doing? I don't understand. I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing. I likened it to a cockroach running in circles as you're trying to kill it. That's what the ego's doing. Like, oh, let's go to this, let's go to this, let's go to this, right? Because where did it find comfort? So control, comfort, right? So many of us, as we're trying to move up this way, these back arrows are the places in which the ego is trying to seek the comfort of the familiar, the comfort of the known. This is known, this is comfortable, this is not. It's our essence, so it's known, and we're like, no, but that feels right. But we get pulled back and sucked back into this. And society is very much in this, so it's very easy to get in that wavelength, that energetic frequency here, right? Living in the 200s of this. And so as you start to move here, and as I started to move into aligning more with the version of me that would actually be this version, the version that prioritizes my health, prioritizes my healing, prioritizes healing my body through food, through movement, all those things. All of a sudden, this morning, I don't even know if I slept last night, but this morning and today I have had zero, I haven't been tired, but I probably barely slept because I was up for at least a couple hours channel writing, and I didn't go to bed till about 11, so I was up at 4. But what I realized today was that I think I finally had my breakthrough, where I finally got to the place where my alarm went off at 4 this morning, and I had a choice. I could have slumped back into, oh, stop, stay put. I could have slumped back into the comfort of snoozing 30 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, no joke, 2 hours. But I just got up and I was like, I'm already awake. I'm just gonna do this. And so this evening, what I noticed was I had made it to this place where I just surrendered. And I said, hey, I'm here. I'm going to allow, I'm going to open, I'm going to choose this over the comfort of staying small, over allowing my ego to control. Because what I realized was that's where the space which my ego had the very nonchalant but you're tired, and I honored those. I had, I slept, I had my moments of downtime. But from my heart, I was feeling called to actually move forward. And I kept doing this. And so today I got here. I got to the breakthrough. I got to the, oh, okay. And it was super easy because I had let go of all these things. I wasn't fighting an uphill battle trying to hold on to this and move to here. Again, another video that we can do, that I'll do, is the idea of like, let me hold this and still try and get here. Your intention to align can get you there for a little while, but you will come crashing down. And that is also why so many people get to here, especially when it's a big here, right? And all of a sudden they feel really empty. It's because they're still holding on to this. They never actually figured out how to access this. Their joy, their purpose, the surrender to the egoic self, the soul self that is trying to move through. Because each one of us has this beautiful and unique plan as to why we're here. We're each part of this beautiful recipe that says, if you were gone, if even a grain of sand was not here, the desert would not look exactly the same that it is. The ocean would miss the drop of water that makes up the fullness of the ocean. So if even you were not here, if even you were not living into your fullness of why you came here, which so many of you are, and I have people come to my office all the time. What's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? We're thinking from here. We're not moving from here. And so as I move more and more into here and less from here, Then I got to this place of my breakthrough. I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I went forward and backwards, forward and backwards. And when I got here, I kind of looked around. And this was me in the car. And what'll happen is that cucaracha, the roach, which I hate cockroaches. I'm sorry, but where the ego kind of gets to this point where it has nothing to attach to over here anymore. And it goes, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Because this, like, doesn't make sense, right? This makes sense. This has been my whole life. This has been a year. I prefer this because it's comfortable. I can control this. This, the essence of the soul, I cannot control. I have to surrender. The ego doesn't want to surrender until it feels the safety of the surrender. So that's the big caveat. It's while it is in these emotions, it can't fully surrender because it can't feel the safety of the surrender. Going back to meditation, that's why so many people feel like, oh yeah, doc, I can't meditate. I tried it. I just can't do it. And I tell them, well, did you go to the gym and lift once and get your muscles? And they kind of go, oh, no. Wait, then why do you think that meditation would be the same thing? It takes months to create the muscle over and over again, repetition, one thing after the next, trying different styles, trying different types to find what works. Meditation is no different. It is an exercise. We are trained to have monkey brains. Just hop all over. I was going to do a monkey sound, but I'll spare you because it's probably not very good. And so but meditation is one of the beautiful ways to start to connect into this and to create a space that is safe enough to move out of this, because you're connecting to your essence, to your soul. You're connecting through here to your soul that keeps reminding you you are safe, you are held, you are loved, you are a divine essence of the God consciousness, the creator. If you don't believe in God, that's fine. The consciousness that created life, the trees, the plants, you, all of this, earth, the cosmos, created you, created us. We're no small peanuts. We're a big deal. We're a big deal. We're divine consciousness walking this earth. We are not small peanuts. You are not small peanuts. That's why the vast majority of us get called to this, but sometimes we don't even start because this is too scary to move through because the ego wants control. So little by little, you know. But as you move forward, you're going to move back, you move forward and back. And when you hit your breakthrough, the craziest thing, and that happened for me in my car as I was sitting there, was that I got to the point of my breakthrough, and my ego at this point doesn't have a lot of space to move. Because once I got here, and mind you, this has been a 2.5-year trajectory, and I have moved from here to this little bits here, if and what is left. There's always so much left, so let's just go there. The more I understand, the less I know, right? Everybody says that, totally true. But I've moved through a lot of the typical egoic beliefs into this on a very common, often basis. Still go here at times, but I quickly, again here, went from this to this to this. Move through it very quickly. I allow it to move. I'm not scared of it. I don't hold it. I don't resist it. I just allow. If I need to move, if I need to cry, if I need to just ask myself what that was about, I do all that. So you learn. But as I got here, and I was like, awesome, I'm here. The thing is, goodness gracious, when you get here, do you notice that there's nothing here? That's new territory. Even your ego doesn't know what to do there. And so oftentimes that's what we, instead of focusing on all these little things and kind of the stepping stones here, and I'm guilty of this, I was here looking at this, looking at this. How do I get here? And this was stressful because this is a big deal. But I wasn't looking at the little steps that would eventually get me here. I wasn't looking at to align with this version, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to understand? What do I need to move through? So that's where the learning happens. So in that learning, that's where your expansion happens as a soul. So what do I need to move through here to get me to here? And I know this is very busy, but hopefully you're following along. And so the thing is, when we get here, what's on this other side, this version of ourself that is no longer this egoic version, right? So we're alchemizing all these things into this. Alchemizing just means, shifting from this into the understanding that of why we held on to this emotion. Alchemizing, shifting, burning away this to open space for this. It gets to a point where you are so used to be this egoic version of yourself that even when you get here, even when you change the behavior, even when you get the business, even when you get, the scariest part is I don't know what comes here. And if we're not really working through this surrender and we're trying to control, this becomes very scary. So you could have your breakthrough and you can go, yeah, you can celebrate and you can do all the things, and as you should, right? But then you sit in, wait a minute. And that was my moment in the car. I got to the breakthrough and I was like, this is great. What a beautiful thing to get to. What a beautiful space to get to. And I'm so proud of myself. And then there was a part of me that was like, well, wait a minute. This feels a little more comfortable. What if I just go back for a little bit? And sometimes we do. Sometimes we dip a little bit back into it. But I want to normalize the idea that this breakthrough is equally scary. It's equally scary because we don't know what this holds. But your soul does. The infinite does. Because all it saw was this as a stepping stone to get you right where you're meant to be. And so in letting go, in surrendering, and honestly saying, I don't know what to do. Meditation helps you to listen. Meditation helps you to focus in, because you are not going to find it in the self-help book. You are not going to find, the vast majority. Because they're created from the individual that sees their life in a very specific way. I guess that's what I'm doing. So I'm not trying to poo-poo it. But they're seen from do this, do that, don't do this, which will work for a little while, but the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that to get to the breakthrough, it's not about learning a new skill. It's not about learning a new task. It's actually, and people will say, learn this, learn that, hold more, right? You want to heal so that you can open your nervous system. You can hold more, and your nervous system can hold more, and your nervous system can essentially, the way we've understood what's happening is allow your nervous system to hold more. Allow your body to get used to holding more and more and more. And so we say, okay, and I was in a group recently that said, let me see if I can move this down slightly. So a woman, we were on a call and a woman said, okay, so here's the woman, and she had, I'm gonna draw a skirt, don't hate me for it. I'm gonna actually draw how my daughter draws stuff. She does this cute little triangle for a skirt and a shirt. We'll even put some eyes. We'll make some hair. All right? And we'll even put some shoes on her and give her some little hands. Okay. So what she was saying is, I'm holding so much already in my field. I have so many things happening. I have family. I have loved ones that have passed. I have all these things I'm working on, doing my business and doing all these things. How do I hold more? How do I regulate my nervous system, right? Because the nervous system is dysregulated when we're feeling a lot of the emotions that I spoke of earlier. When you're feeling a lot of the emotions here, this is why often meditation doesn't feel safe. Because you're moving through these emotions and the control, and meditation is the letting go of control. But letting go in a way that you can understand that you're safe. And that opens you to soul. It opens you here to feeling into the soul, feeling into the infinite, feeling into the essence of who you are at a soul level, not an egoic level. So she's saying, how can I hold more? How can I do more, right? So she's trying to get through this breakthrough over and over again. But what's that doing? That's just weighing down on her. And she feels resistance and she doesn't understand why. She's moving a horse backwards through mud. It's like, come on, why don't you go? Why don't you go? Why can't I hold more? Why can't I hold more? Why can't I feel comfortable doing this? Why am I so uncomfortable? And so it's not about holding more, it's actually about letting go. I'm going to give you some insight that I had on an experience where, and I'll go into this more later, but I wonder if I can do it through here, where we come into this world as a clean slate. We come into this world as love, okay? This is our soul, and we're embodied in a human form. We come in as love, we come pure. Men and women, the feeling heart with love, with divine essence, with playfulness and joy. I mean, watch a kid. Why do so many people like to watch kids? Because they're filled with joy and love and just like, oh my God. And as we have our experiences, often from a young age, we start to create this cocoon of ideas, and you can kind of look at it as every one of these circles. What do you think they represent? Another trapped or blocked emotion that got stuck, and another, and another, and another, and another. Shame, guilt, fear, unworthiness, lack of love, pride, having to prove yourself, all these things, right? Everything that we've listed down here creates that. But this is your light. This is your light. All these bars are your light as a divine source shining through. And all these dots, they're covering your light. And so when your light, I'm going to go sideways, right? When your light is being covered, what happens in between this space? What happens here? A light is pushing. The light is pushing this way. The heavy, dense emotion is pushing this way. This is the dissonance. Which equals, for the vast majority of us, whoops, pain. This is the friction. This is the light going this way. You are this. You are love. You are compassion. You are this vibrant, radiating here, right? The lower, heavier emotions, Christ consciousness. Most are at 200. Love, I think, is 500. You are this, or you are honestly, actually, Christ consciousness at your core. But you're living in the 200. So you're here, your light pushing out, right? This is your light saying, I want out, because this is you, this is you, this is you. And your ego in life goes, no. This is me, and this is me, and this is me, and this. Every one of these belief systems created the ego that is Miriam. It says, no, this is me. And your soul is going, no, this infinite being, that is you. And there's a battle between surrender and control, surrender and control. And this dissonance causes pain in the form of physical pain, in the form of anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, autoimmune disease. There's a provider who sees these things and is the oracle who sees beyond. The reason I can be the code breaker is because I can see beyond the story. I can get downloads and intuitions that I can ask the questions that say, what about this? And I'll give you a prime example. I have recognized recently that, and I'm not saying this is across the board, I have recognized recently that the women who have been called to work with me, I have had multiple women that have come in with endometriosis or suspected endometriosis. And I started to get downloads for each one of them around sexual abuse to either them or their mothers. And with the prevalence of sexual abuse against women, I was not surprised. And I started asking, hey, is there any history for you of sexual abuse? And unfortunately, I smile, but I don't smile because that's what happened. I smile for the awareness of how the body chose to hold on to the experience of the hopelessness or helplessness in that moment. And it is going to hold it in the very space of what is our root chakra, what is our sacral chakra. More the sacral than the root, but the sacral chakra is where our uteruses, our reproductive organs are. And that's where the endometriosis has happened. For those that don't understand, endometriosis is where the tissue that is the uterine tissue grows outside of the uterus. It starts to protrude through and grow outside. What's it doing? It's trying to find a safe space. Because with sexual trauma, to be here was unsafe. So then what's the story that's being told? It's a very real story. But what's the story that's being told, and what's causing this tissue to go outside to seek a safe space? And that can sound like woo-woo, and it can sound crazy. But just think through it from a perspective of blocked emotions, and where would they get blocked if that was happening? Why would they get blocked? If the body's trying to harmonize, trying to find safety, trying to find peace, it's going to look elsewhere. And this is a prime example, and this is primarily why a lot of the Band-Aids that we currently have are birth control, are surgery, and a lot of docs won't do surgery without birth control. Because why? It'll just grow back. Because we're not actually getting to the root. The root is this. It's all the emotional stories that we put on top of the vastness of the divine nature that we are, that is creating dissonance and it's creating pain. And we say, gosh, why did our body create pain? Like, that's miserable. Why'd you choose that? Because it's just trying to talk to you. It's just trying to tell you something. So the greatest thing that we can do for ourselves is understand that when we feel pain, this isn't just like I went to the gym, I like busted a bicep because I tried to impress the girl lifting 80 pounds and I had never done it before. I'm talking about the pain of, you know, patients that I have come into me and they can't undiagnosed or diagnosed endometriosis, or they come into me with gut symptoms that like every ultrasound, MRI, scan, colonoscopy, endoscopy finds nothing. They're healthy, physiologically healthy. But emotionally, they're not. Their soul's telling them not. So that was a tangent. You're welcome. And so all this to say that as we move through and get to the breakthrough, the ego doesn't know where to go beyond what it knew here. And so this is beautiful and this is great. And when you achieve this, do not be surprised if due to this, the vastness of the expansion of what lies on the other side of where you reached gets so uncomfortable that although you're sitting there and celebrating, there's a part of you that's going, hey, want to come back this way? Hey, you want to come back here? Hey, you sure? You sure you want to do this? You got it. You sure you want to do this? And so even in the unknown, even though you're not sure how it's going to happen, even though you're not sure what it looks like, and that lack of control is challenging, breathe into the surrender and know that this is normal. And so as I sat in my car today and as I had this awareness of like this space I had gotten to where I was like, wow, I really feel like I'm moving greater and greater into alignment with the version of myself that I'm calling in. And yet the unknown's a bit scary. And I noticed my ego flailing like it did in that yoga class, where I was in the position. I had arrived. I was there. I was holding it. I was breathing through it. I was allowing the discomfort to start to feel comfortable, different than discomfort, but to get used to it, to say it's okay, to surrender my body to what I was feeling. And I realized in that moment that there was parts of me that want to move out of the position, parts of me that said, you can just get up, it's okay. Nobody would fault you for it. They would understand. And so that's not failure. Because oftentimes we say, I'm failing, I thought I was doing so good, I made it here, but this keeps pulling me back. Last concept I'm going to draw that's part of it, and yet another concept, is the idea that in your brain you have the neurons, right? So our neurons are firing and they're connecting to other neurons, and they're all within, I don't know, what is this? My makeshift brain, okay? So the more you've had an idea, this is totally, I mean, like another easel. The more you've had an idea, you've lived this experience over and over and over again. The experience that is the fear, the guilt, the shame. I mean, you look at the news and that's exactly what they feed off of to keep you in that lower energetic state. This went from a rickety road when we were little to this super, super highway, right? So one neuron to the next, super highway. We've got this pathway down pat. You ever notice you meet some people and the best way to connect is through fear, through guilt, through shame, through life's hard. Man, that was rough. God, that traffic. Okay. But talk about joy, talk about love, talk about those things, and people go, that was a little weird. And they might join in, but they're a little uncomfortable because we don't like to always talk about those things. And then there's the people that you meet that do. But then if I'm trying to move from this to now getting this to move here, at first it is a rickety, bumpy road. I'm just moving through and there's all these bumps and I'm like, man, that's hard. This connection that wants to go down here, it's moving through and we're trying to move into surrender and love and all and compassion. But the fear and the doubt and everything it's not really connecting well. But the longer you stick with it, the longer you allow this idea to move to this idea. So ego to move to soul. The more over time this starts to get, oh, now we're, we're not so bumpy. And then the idea goes down, hey, we're kind of filling in that space. Hey, and over time, this starts to become the bumpy road. This idea starts to not connect as fluidly, and this one starts to take over. So as this first starts, this is your bumpy road, and this is your really solidified highway. And so when you first get here and you feel yourself wanting to go down, you feel yourself wanting to go backwards, it's okay. It's normal. The unknown can feel scary. But know that your soul is the one that is calling you forward. Your soul is the one that is urging you to pay attention, to listen, to move, because it knows you can get there because it's already happened. All you need to do is align. Let go of the belief systems. Let go of those rocks. I don't think I got back to this one, but we'll get back to this one. But anyways, instead of holding, what you actually need to do is let go. Right? So it's this. Instead of why am I going to hold more so my nervous system can just hold more? No, what I want to do is release these rocks, right? I want to release this to let go of the pain, let go of the dissonance, and allow my light to come through. Those are your aha moments where all of a sudden something connects and you go, oh, that felt so right. That felt so in alignment, right? And that feeling of passion and like alignment comes in. You're like, that, honey, is your light moving through and being like, yes, I found a crack. I can get through. Hallelujah. But it's not in putting more on top. It's in releasing. It's in letting go of those patterns. So don't take on more. Figure out how to release it. Because that's then how this happens. So you get to your breakthrough, that rickety line. This one's real thick. That's super highway. And so when you get here, don't be discouraged when you get there and all of a sudden it feels inside a little more comfortable and there's the parts that you want to go backwards. And tell your ego quietly. So meditation is great. Tell your ego, I see you. Acknowledge it. It's just emotion. Emotions pass. I think they said for most emotions within like 8 seconds. Don't quote me, but I think within like 8 seconds it passes. If you acknowledge it. If you shove it down, whole nother story, right? This. And so when you start feeling the discomfort of being here, because this one's such a practice superhighway and this one's still a rickety road, just ask your ego, ask yourself, ask your higher self. Usually when you're asking higher self, the answer comes in faster than you've asked the question. The answer is coming in, and that's usually your higher self, your guides that are answering it for you. And listen to that and just ask your ego and say, I feel you. I acknowledge you. So it's like in yoga. I felt the discomfort. I acknowledged it. And I just breathed through it. And I took another breath and another breath. And eventually I softened. The discomfort moved and I softened. It's the same thing with your ego. I mean, that is my egoic self that's like turning itself on in that moment of discomfort and pain. And so just gently ask and say, I see you. I acknowledge you. Thank you for your presence, because it's just trying to help you. Thank you for showing me something I wasn't seeing. We're good. We're safe, because we being this connection, the soul and the human form, working as one. Is there anything I need to know from this? And that's how you start to move forward. And that's how, when you get to this breakthrough and you feel yourself being called back, you are not failing. You are just actually pushing up against the resistance in such a way that this is becoming less, and this rickety road is starting to create this connection. And so until it comes at full connection, you're going to have those moments where the echoes of the past self come forward. And they're like, hey, don't forget me. Hey, I'm over here. And then I go back to this spiral, right? So we go from here and we keep spiraling down the same idea, but at different depths of understanding, to where eventually it goes away. But there's this echo of the self for a little bit that says, hey, I'm still here. But it's a whisper. It's not as loud, like, I'm in here, I'm in your face, you can't get away from me. It's this echo that's saying, hey, don't forget. Hey, I'm still here. And you get to just acknowledge, because if you resist and you push away and you push down and say, I'm not going to see you, I move past you, I don't want. Hey, I got a hold on you. And you're trying to resist me. And that's that movement through. The resistance will create more of this pattern, because you got to figure out what it's trying to show you. Whereas the allowance moves from this to this. Your nadir, the depths of where you go is less. Because you're not resisting anymore. The resistance creates these deeper valleys, and the understandings have to go to a deeper valley to understand and come back out. Whereas the less you resist, the easier it is to move through, because you just look at it and you go, I understand you're just here to help me. I understand you're just here to show me something. What are you trying to show me? Thank you. I love you. What are you trying to show me? And sometimes it'll say, and sometimes it won't. But the very fact that you acknowledged it, it disappears. That's all it was looking for. More often than not, all it was looking for was acknowledgement of its presence. Because in some way, shape, or form, at some point in your life, it served you. So it's only looking for the acknowledgement so it can let go. So breakthroughs will never come without your ego attempting to pull you back into comfort. And when that happens, you are not failing. You are stronger than you could ever imagine, because you made it to the breakthrough. So don't let the echoes, don't let the feelings of your ego trying to pull you back discourage you. And don't try to banish your ego. We want to get in harmony. We want to allow it to move together. And I'll do a whole nother video on that, because I have a lot more information about that and what that looks like. So I am so grateful for all of you. If you're still here, you probably jump around. Beautiful, because this is now going on like an hour and 20 minutes. But I do so much hope that this gave you some understanding, that it gave you some ideas. And over time, I know that as I move through my ideas, I will condense them. I will create shorter amounts of information so that you can digest them better. But this is me moving through in real time what I just experienced in the car right before I started recording this. And so from my heart to yours, I hope it helps you understand a little bit deeper. If you have any comments, questions, subscribe, follow, because there's more to come. And ask the questions, comments below, because I would be thrilled to answer. I'd be thrilled to connect and create a community of people that are moving through this, that are really moving through and feeling called to move forward. And maybe you're just not understanding how. Maybe you just don't have anybody in your circle that understands it, and you feel like the crazy one. You're not. You're the one that's following your soul. And you're the one that is the code breaker. You're the one that in time will be the code breaker, that is the change maker. And every single one of us is important. But every time you heal, you are changing the frequency of yourself and the collective consciousness. And that's a big deal. And the fact that you're here is a big deal. Sending lots of love. Bye, guys.